Hello and a warm welcome to the Bengaluru edition of Budget Yatra 2026. We're in India's garden city turned startup capital that's on the fast track to now becoming the country's primary GCC hub. And why not? In 2025, Bengaluru saw 28.7 million square feet of office space transactions, of which 63% were global capability centers or GCCs. In fact, that's been the story across the country too, with this segment commanding 40% of all office market transactions pan-India. So on the show today, we're asking, what makes Bengaluru the perfect canvas for India's GCC growth story? Where do these growth numbers go from here? And more importantly, what can Budget 2026 do to take GCC investments in this city to a whole new level? On that note, let's dive right in. Our first stop on our Bengaluru Budget Yatra brings us to Sattva Knowledge Court. Completed in 2021, the space I'm coming to you from has a total of 900,000 square feet of leasable area, with occupancy rates hovering at well over 98%. Right atop its GCC occupier list are names like Harman, AECom, Stryker, and Thomson Reuters. So we figured there's no better place to start our yatra by taking stock at Sattva on how the GCC segment is poised to grow and what it wants from Budget 2026. All right, Shivam Agarwal, good to have you with us here on ET Now's Budget Yatra. It's a rainy Bangalore day and we're here to discuss what is perhaps the hottest topic when it comes to Bengaluru's real estate and industry thrust really, and that's GCCs. I mean, what a year it's been, Shivam.
Yeah.
Bengaluru saw 28.7 million square feet in absorption through 2025, and we're talking overall office space, but 63% of that were GCCs, and that's really underlined the city's status as an up-and-coming GCC hub for the entire country itself, aside from already being a startup capital of sorts. What's powering the growth of the sector really, Shivam?
First of all, thank you, Jude, for doing this. You've got the reins with you from Chennai. I think for the viewers, it would be very important to define what GCCs are.
Right.
GCCs are global capability centers. So they are offshoots of foreign companies, not only from the US, but from all over the world, who set up offices in India.
Right.
And these I wouldn't call it outsourcing anymore. They set up proper R&D hubs and innovation centers in India. And I think it's been great. India is, you know how China is the manufacturer of the world. I think India is the service provider or the GCC capital of the world. And we are standing in the hub of GCCs in India, I would say.
Right.
So between Bangalore and Hyderabad, they absorb 60% of all the GCC demand. Primarily because I think, you know, the tech talent in the country or in the city of Bangalore is unparalleled. I think we have over 4.5 lakh engineering graduates every year. And I think the grade A office infrastructure is very accretive to growth over here. I think gone are the days where, you know, we're debating whether India is, you know, a GCC capital or not. It has, you know, cemented itself as one of those. And I think we're just looking forward to all the amazing stuff.
And Shivam, thanks for breaking it down really in terms of what a GCC is. I mean, to put it simply, it's as simple as this, right? If a company were to move the entire length and breadth of their operations to an offshore space, that would essentially be a GCC. And India has really taken the lead insofar as powering the segment is concerned. But I have to ask you, what's propelled growth in this sector as far as Bengaluru is concerned? What's made this city stand out from the rest?
I think mainly tech talent and infrastructure. I think Bangalore has a heritage of 30 plus years of being the Silicon Valley of India.
Right.
And I think that continues still today. If you look at office absorption, like you had mentioned, 27 million odd square feet, I think Bangalore has the highest office absorption in the entire country, and also the biggest grade A office supply, I would say. So I think all of those things propel it for sure. Overall, I think we get a lot of talent migration. Not only from the universities which are in Bangalore, which kind of contribute to the talent pool, but I feel like eventually with this, like as you see with the number of startups, with the number of tech companies, Bangalore does attract a lot of tech talent from all over India. And I think that's the main sort of incentive that's propelling the city.
Right, and of course here at Sattva itself, where you have a bunch of GCC clients actually, taking form and shape here. The place was completed in 2021. You have 900,000 square feet of leasable area, an occupancy of over 98% itself. What's the outlook like for the overall GCC sector going forward? It's already grown by leaps and bounds. Where does it go from here?
I think it's just started, India has about 1,700 plus GCCs today, which I think is estimated to go up to 2,500 plus by 2030, which is next 4 years. So I think definitely in terms of growth, the parameters are very strong. Us as Sattva, we do two things primarily. We've already been providing office spaces for GCC. So if you look at, say, where we are, Sattva Knowledge Court, we have Harman, we have Aeon, we have a couple of other really big GCC clients.
Thomson Reuters, Stryker.
Yeah, Stryker, Thomson Reuters. It's so many of them, so it's hard to keep track now. But I think we've been very lucky. I think we've provided the right infrastructure in the right locations at the right time, and the mix of all these three things have really helped us. Going forward, we've started a GCC vertical. It's called GCC Base. Like I said, we were already providing the office space for it. I think now the idea is to create almost like a full stack. So through GCC Base, we plan to, help companies even hire the right talent, even maybe provide, the right office spaces, the right kind of talent, right? Like you're not looking at low-level managers anymore. You're looking at CEOs for cities and countries. So as companies grow and you have your JP Morgans, your Microsofts, all of these giant tech finance companies coming to India or growing their footprint in India, and as they look at even going up the talent pool to more niche talent or more upper management talent, I think that's the space we want to get into.
Shivam, I'm really glad you bring that up, because we're doing this interview at a time when there's merely weeks, if not days, to go for India's big Union Budget 2026. You talk about the challenges that exist at a time when India and Sattva's GCC star is rising. So what do you think should be the synergies that the union government actually brings about to ensure that at a time when this segment is showing so much promise, the right policy levers can be pulled to ensure that you hit top gear? What do you think the budget can do to achieve that end?
I think there's a couple of things. First and primarily starting with the ease of doing business. So I think the policies could revolve around maybe like a single window clearance for something like whenever someone wants to set up a GCC, especially on the tech side, on the policy side. I think that would make a huge difference, make the business ecosystem a little bit more inviting and a little bit more welcoming. Could also be infrastructure status for GCCs, like a larger GCCs which are developing. So if someone wants to build a million and a half square foot GCC, and I say million and a half, but that really depends on the city, right? Like in Bangalore, that's probably a larger office size, but in Bombay, it could be 300,000 square feet. So having infrastructure status for that. And I think some policies around education, promoting the talent pool a little, developing the talent pool a little bit even further, because that would really, I think, that's the base of the entire ecosystem. Right? You have the largest English-speaking population in the world outside of the US, and you have the youngest population in the world, right? Like the average youth is the youngest. I think now having that sort of edge on education or educational policies which help further develop this tech talent.
So moving forward then, what are your key expectations from the sector itself? I know it's on the growth trajectory. Where does it go from here, and how quickly until India gets right on top of that GCC pyramid?
I think we're already right on top. It's about maintaining the lead, right? I think continue to build great infrastructure, great offices, grade A offices, which I think we're doing. Like if you look at Bangalore, I think we have 25 to 30 million square feet of construction underway, out of which 60% of it is already pre-committed.
Right.
It's a very good position to be in, right?
It
Especially as an office developer, I think you know that the demand is there.
Right.
It's now being able to keep up with your supply and give good quality supply.
Right, well, let's hope that India continues to hold on to its pole position, like you mentioned in GCCs, and Bengaluru continues to be a key part of that equation. On that note, Shivam, great speaking with you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Jude.
And long may India's GCC story
Looking
continue.
forward to seeing this and looking forward to your show. I know this is the start of it, but I'm looking forward to the budget and how this show unfolds till then and what insights everyone else has.
Absolutely great to have you with us as always. Thank you very much, Shivam.
Thank you, Jude.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Looking good, there's another sector that Bengaluru is almost always bullish about, and that's startups. The last few months, though, have seen the Karnataka government aspire to move startup activity outside Bengaluru and develop clusters beyond big cities. A big part of this plan succeeding, however, lies in whether the city's human capital has the necessary drive to get out of Bengaluru and set up base in towns like Hubli, Mysuru, Mandya and Chikmagaluru. But is there a secret sauce that the centre might come up with by way of policy to help make this happen? And more importantly, how does the state now see the growth trajectory of its startup ecosystem shaping up in the context of this push? I got the chance to catch up with the CEO of the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission to find answers to some of those questions. All right, Sanjay Kumar Gupta, good to have you with us here on ET Now, along the road as we traverse the length and breadth of our country as part of our flagship program, ET Now Budget Yatra itself. We're in Bengaluru, India's startup capital, and it's been a few years now since the state government announced its plan to go about attracting startup investments and powering startup activity beyond big cities like Bengaluru into tier 2 and tier 3 towns. If it isn't too premature to ask, how has that initiative been going along, and have smaller towns caught up with Bengaluru's startup buzz in a sense?
First of all, welcome to the ET team here in the city of Digital India capital, Bengaluru. And warm welcome to the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission office as well.
Thank you.
Lovely to have you all here today. And happy to share that, yes, the government of Karnataka started Beyond Bengaluru mission in almost 4 years back. And where our emphasis is that we don't talk about tier 2, tier 3 towns. We actually call them emerging tech clusters, right? So because if you see the emerging tech clusters, we look proud. We look up. And we say tier 2, tier 3 towns, we look down. So our way of addressing of this is towards calling them as emerging tech clusters. In the last 4 years, we have focused on how do we create an ecosystem of the digital economic growth. And the digital economic growth comes from how the new investments are coming in place, how the new companies are coming up. Also look at how the innovation ecosystem are getting up for that level, right? And the third piece is the ease of doing business, the policy frameworks and etc. are supporting all those elements together.
Right.
What we did very differently is we created a product for each of my Beyond Bengaluru clusters. So we divided the entire Karnataka outside Bangalore into 6 clusters. Hubli, Belgaum, Dharwad is one cluster, Mangaluru is one cluster, Mysuru is one cluster, Tumkuru is one cluster, Shimoga is one cluster, like Kalburgi is another cluster. And we started with 3 clusters, Mysuru, Hubli, Belgaum, Dharwad and Bangalore. And I'm very happy to share with you in the last 4 years or so, almost 138 companies have set up their operations in these locations, creating more than 10,000 jobs plus in these locations. Earlier, we were looking at Beyond Bengaluru startup ecosystem there, where we wanted to find out a couple of startups coming in place, though there were a lot of movement around it, but very few angel investors, incubation centers which were there, but there is no acceleration program. The access to the capital was a challenge. So we started working on those areas. right? So today we have more than, I would say, in these three locations itself, more than 2,000 plus and 2,500 plus startups which are operating from these locations. We have a program called as Elevate, where we give grants up to rupees 50 lakhs from idea to creating a POC. Almost 1,000 plus when the applications come for this, 30% come from these clusters, right? So this shows the way it is happening around.
But, I'm just curious, Mr. Sanjeev, what exactly were some of the key challenges towards getting this in? A lot of followers of the Beyond Bengaluru initiative said that perhaps the big challenge would be to get people living in Bengaluru, working in Bengaluru, to actually move beyond the city and look at emerging tech hubs, like you said. What kind of challenges did you foresee or did you encounter in this exploit?
Yeah, the challenges would be what, right? How do I get a fast quality talent for my company which is coming up there, right? That's one question which comes up. The second question is, how do we create more very class A infrastructure which is available, right? Secondly, thirdly, most important would be about not only this IT infrastructure or tech infrastructure, but also towards the other part of social infrastructure, right? Some of these experts, when they come and say, hey, do you have an international school there in these clusters? Right? The emerging clusters will definitely have some good quality schools, but we need to address those issues as well, right, once we're going forward. The other areas of the hospitality, entertainment, and etc. Well, the two important questions is also coming as innovation ecosystem by these people around. So my investment cycle says that if I have a good talent, if I have a good innovation ecosystem, and an ease of doing business, all the other things will take care of it by itself as well. So we heavily focus on talent.
Okay.
We have mapped almost each of my cluster gives me good quality talent supply for around between 20,000 to 35,000 people, tech graduates coming out from that, STEM graduates. On an average, actual numbers will be varying from one here and there. And then the existing deployed resources of tech talent in those existing companies, the ecosystem there, would be ranging from around 15,000 to 50,000 people. Right, in existing deployed. And then your innovation ecosystem, which we are just talking about, how are you putting up the incubation centers, how are you putting up the cluster seed fund, how are you putting up the Karnataka Accelerator network, bringing the organizations like TIE chapters into these locations as an institutional mechanism. Coming out from them is the right about of angel investors. Right, and then Beyond Bengaluru Blue program, where we actually select top 10 startups in this region every 6 months with a proper like a program. And we bring some top 10 or 15 VCs from across India, and they visit that place and they look at the pitches and they actually look forward for investments. So I think in these areas, the challenges is the tech demands of the talent, the VC demands more towards the deep tech, right? Looking at the innovation system, the access to the capital is another one. So I think these are the areas where we find challenges, but we have to move on with one step another, and then figure it out and answers for them.
I am now curious to know, what are the targets like? How many startups do you hope to culture out of these clusters outside Bengaluru? Since you mentioned funding as well, what are the targets with regard to raising funding from these smaller or emerging tech hubs, like you say?
So before that, I just jump onto your last question or whatever number of questions you have. But before that, 200,000 top talent of India every year arrives in Karnataka. We are still a hot destination of the best talent to come down here. The startup policy, the GCC policy, ESDM policy, AVGC policy, all of them are in a very mature stages of, because we are the first who started the startup policy when there was nothing called startup in India. Right. We are the first one who started the Kid Win Fund when there was nothing called a VC fund by any government agencies. So being this, we have reached a stage where we are demonstrating this part. And in these angles of these policies, it's just not about subsidies or etc. It's about how do we partner in the larger ecosystem, bring together, and enable that as a fertile land for the future investments and innovations to come in.
So what are the targets then? How many startups? What kind of funding?
Yeah. So under these policies, we are looking at 25,000 new startups to come up for the startup policy which we have announced, in which 10,000 startups to come from the Beyond Bengaluru clusters itself. We are looking at creating another 500 plus GCCs to be coming to the state of Karnataka. Right? And we are the leading states. Right? We are 36% of the GCC manpower is here, which operates from here. If you look at 400,000 people which are deployed, 600,000 tech resources in the state right now here. Just one statistics, out of Fortune 500 companies, 400 plus have their R&D center in Bangalore. Right. We're looking at now when GCC number 500 plus goes up, those remaining 100 has to be operating from
That's
here.
all the
and
Fortune
plus,
500 companies
yes,
then in
and then we
Bengaluru.
look at more of towards the Fortune 2000 companies to be operating from here.
But Sanjeev, we also find ourselves at the very heart of India's policy-making season.
Yep.
We're barely a few weeks, if not days away
Yeah.
from the union budget.
Yeah.
How can central policies and budgetary allocations and the budget itself support in powering these initiatives and take it to the next level?
Couple of areas where I think union government can look at some of the important announcements. The challenge that we're looking at, how do we create, for example, let's say the electronics manufacturing. How do we create these plug-and-play facilities all across the country where the industries, let's say a medium size of industry, going some innovation one and want to start manufacturing. Instead of going into the largest segment of the land parcels and etc., how do we operationalize them into the plug-and-play facility? With all these approvals and all these utilities are available in that same campus, right? So there could be one plan where some of the central government and the state governments can work together. We can identify these places where we want to set it up because we know where our demands are, and union government can work. So this is one type of recommendation. The second is, I think the time has come to have the digital economy zones. Assume that if we pick up 100 locations in the country, right, every state can come up with 2 or 3 locations, which they feel that these are the good locations where the digital economy can grow. State governments identified the piece of the places where they can define the digital economy zone. Certain benefits of all kinds, from the capital subsidies towards the income tax and the taxation subsidies, that can be brought in by the government of India and say, state identified the portion. Any company operating from that beyond Bengaluru type of locations, basically in your terminology tier 2, in my terminology emerging tech clusters, if they put up their operations there, they are eligible for these types of benefits.
Right.
And those types of benefits will enable the larger attraction power for the companies to come in. Right. The third piece which I would like to suggest is, how do we create this more of a clusters fund in partnership with the government of India, right? So government of India comes out with a fund of fund. How do we create a fund which is primarily focusing only on these emerging tech clusters, right? So access of capital can be made available by easily of this kind. And it can party both, right? The union government and the state government can party together onto this. And state government is the execution body, so they can run this, the fund profile based on the regulatory approvals that is required by the various bodies. But we can definitely give the access to the capital. Last but not the least point would be, actually is a time when democratization of entrepreneurship should be announced as an important pillar of success for the journey of India's towards the growth journey, where the Bharat plays a very important role. Right. And in my view, that's where I would put my cards on.
I love the words that you're using. The state and center can party together in true Bengaluru style. So last question then before I let you go. What can all of this translate to an upside as far as the startup ecosystem here is concerned? Should all of these proposals come to be and you see budgetary allocations along the lines of which you propose, what do you think the upside can be with regard to the startup ecosystem itself?
Well, I think, most of the global startups should start looking at, hey, I'm missing India right now, and I should get registered in India and take this benefit. Right? So global attraction of startups can start bringing in, right? So that's one up that we see. The second we see is that deep tech will get a very heavily focused onto this. The deep tech is not for the, so to say, the metropolitan towns, but the deep tech would be to solve the local problems, right? And with this boost, you will finding local solutions coming out, which can become global solutions as well. So I see an upliftment going forward on those lists. Last, as upliftment would be, actually very inclusive nature of this ecosystem will be coming in place. Women entrepreneurs, physically challenged entrepreneurs, there will be many. And how we give them an access to become from a larger profile from the union government perspective, which can create this magic of inclusivity. Right? And I think getting into the, from your terminology tier 2, from my terminology emerging clusters, is the right approach.
Absolutely. In fact, think global. global, act local, and see the benefits on multiple fronts. On that note, Sanjeev, great speaking to you. I hope these proposals come to be, and Karnataka
Thank you.
startups go
Pleasure
places.
meeting you and pleasure hosting you here.
Thank you very much, Sanjeev. Great
Thank
speaking
you.
with you. Thank you. Through a series of measures, including its LEAP project and an investment commitment of 1,000 crore rupees, the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission now hopes to generate 5 lakh high-value jobs across the state, especially in sectors like AI, electronics, biotech, aerospace, and advanced manufacturing. The organization is also doubly sure that these jobs won't be concentrated in Bengaluru, but take form and shape across emerging tech hubs. And that makes the upcoming union budget even more critical, if anything at all, to provide the right impetus in giving these plans wings to take off and become reality.